Call it Monte Carlos, as Carlos Alcaraz reigned supreme in the Principality on Sunday to hoist his first 1,000 title in 13 months. His 3-6, 6-1, 6-love win over Lorenzo Musetti also brings the Spaniard back to world number 2 and number 1 in the live ATP race to Turin. I'll talk about whether Alcaraz's triumph positions him for a dominant clay swing, preview the Stuttgart field, which includes the top 4 players, and touch on Eala's first match since her magical Miami Open run. Hey, I'm Christian Bassnight, and welcome to Christian's Court, where I cover tennis from all angles. If you haven't yet already, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you are notified whenever I post more content. Also, this episode of the Christian's Court Report will be available for streaming on Spotify. I've gotten a few requests from some of you all about making my content into podcast form, so I'm going to be putting more of my stuff on, to be available to be streamed through podcasts. So getting into how Alcaraz exactly outlasted Musetti. Alcaraz, he started this match out pretty well. He broke right off the bat, and he had a few game points to consolidate the break in that following game, but he was just very off and error prone, and it was similar to how he started his matches all week, just kind of low-key sloppy tennis. And Alcaraz, he lost his first few service games to go down their early break deficit, and it wasn't like Musetti did anything too special in the earlier games of the match. Alcaraz was just missing routine shots that he should make in his sleep, and perhaps he was just pressing way too much. He made 11 unforced errors in the first 4 games alone of the first set. This definitely helped Lorenzo settle in and handle the occasion of playing his first 1,000 final a little bit more, as definitely the nerves were there, but having Alcaraz kind of gift him quite a few points through unforced errors and enabled him to play better tennis. And with the help of Alcaraz, Musetti was able to remain steady from the ground, and he was just the more consistent of the two. And the Italian, honestly, he was very impressive on serve, and he did well to mix up the serves. He combined hard, flat serves with heavy, high-bouncing kick serves too. But aside from that, overall, his level was just very good. Like, he finished with 7 winners to 6 unforced errors. Just really an ideal, low-key, kind of perfect set from Musetti. Now, the tide completely shifted in that second set as Alcaraz, he controlled it a lot more and was far more consistent from the ground and showcased some of that exceptional shot making. He was just really treeing midway through the second set. It was really feeling it. He dominated the court positioning battle as well, and Musetti wasn't able to impose himself nearly as much as he did in the first set. He only hit 2 winners in the second set. Alcaraz, meanwhile, he cracked 12 winners to 13 unforced errors, and the majority of those errors kind of came in the final few games of the second set. I still think the third set would have been competitive if Musetti hadn't gotten injured. Musetti, he pushed Alcaraz a lot in those final few games of the second set, but you can just see that the groin issue was truly bothering him the first game of the deciding set, and really the match was over after that, which is an unfortunate finish. Truthfully, Musetti should have called it quits after, especially after he went down love 3, but I respect him for letting Carlos have his celebratory moment and just finish the match on his own terms. This wasn't the ideal finish for Lorenzo, but still, it's a tournament to be very, very proud of. He got some great hard-fought wins. He came back from a set down, namely, he lost the first set 1-6 against Yuri Lehechka, Stefano Tsitsipas, and Alex de Minaur, and he also beat his compatriot Matteo Berrettini in straight sets too. And it's a huge accomplishment that he was able to make his first 1,000 final, and the effort brings him to a new career high ranking of number 11 in the world, and I think it's going to be a matter of time before he cracks the top 10, as he's now in the stretch of where he loves the most, the clay. He even said himself clay is his favorite surface. He's a great clay court player. He finished bronze at the Olympics in Paris, and I can definitely see him winning Roland Garros or a clay 1000 for sure in the next 5 years, as he still is pretty young at 23 years old. The only concern I have for him right now is just being healthy, as hopefully this groin issue isn't too bad. He did have to withdraw from Barcelona, so hopefully he's all good and ready to go for Madrid. Now on to talking about Alcaraz. Obviously this title means a lot to him. It was his first non-Indian Wells 1000 title since, I believe, Madrid 2023, and Carlos is very open in his celebratory championship speech about how he's been struggling the past month or so, but his team helped him kind of stay positive. And people are very tough on Carlos. The fans, especially, they expect him to win everything, and people had issue with him taking a more relaxed, healthy, positive approach to these tournaments and not trying to beat himself down too much when he loses. But it clearly, that mentality paid off as he was able to win a 1,000 tournament, not even playing his best tennis. And I was more impressed about how Carlos remained positive in the tight moments, particularly in that quarterfinal against Artur Fils. He was really down bad a couple times in that match, but was still able to come out on top. Carlos, he also spoke about the expectations that will kind of be on him now that he won Monte Carlo. In his post-match press conference, he said, "I'm pretty sure that it's going to be difficult months ahead because a lot of people already have really high expectations on me on having a really good clay season. Probably they want me to win almost every tournament, so it's going to be difficult to deal with, I guess. But one thing that I learned last month is I have to think about myself. I have to just think about my people, my team, my family, my friends, my close friends. No matter what happens on court, if I win, if I lose, I just have to leave the court happy." So that's something that I learned, and I think I did it this week, and it paid off. I just love Carlos's mentality. Again, it's just very happy that he's not negative all the time. He's always positive and is trying to uplift himself, and just always has a glass half full perspective, and that's going to take him very far, because Carlos simply is just going to be one of those players who will have more ups and downs compared to more of an even-keeled Jannik Sinner who might have more consistent results overall. Carlos will have more peaks and valleys comparatively to Sinner. Career trajectory, maybe, it's good that Carlos has a more positive outlook on things. His fans especially, are very harsh, and I think Carlos shows that he is aware of the criticism that he's gotten, but clearly he's not trying to give it as much thought. This has been an interesting title run for Carlos because, again, he did not play his best tennis this entire tournament. He really didn't have a single clean match from start to finish. And it was always start shaky, finish strong. But I think it's promising, again, for him that he won a 1,000 not playing his best tennis. The fact that he even won a 1,000 will help him, and knowing that he got that monkey off his back, he won't have as much pressure to actually win one now that he has done it. And two, he's going to be even more dangerous knowing that he can still win big tournaments not playing his best tennis. And Carlos admitted this in his Barcelona Open pre-tournament press conference, where he is a two-time champion. He said, "In Monte Carlo, I didn't play at a very high level, but it gave me a lot of confidence to get through tough moments, to prove to myself that I can win matches without playing my best tennis. That's what I can take away from it." Alcaraz also said that he doesn't necessarily expect himself to dominate on the rest of the clay swing just because he won Monte Carlo. "In Monte Carlo, I gained a lot of confidence," Carlos said. "I didn't expect to win the title. I just wanted to get more hours on clay. But from there to calling myself the favorite on clay, these days there's a wide range of players who can win any tournament. You go into them without knowing who might take it because there are 6 or 7 guys right there. I don't want to label myself the favorite for the clay swing." I agree with Carlos. I think there are a lot of guys on any given week that can come through and win a title. We just had Jakob Mensik win in Miami. You had Jack Draper win in Indian Wells. So a lot of these guys can win a lot of these tournaments. The field is very, very deep. And Carlos is spot on in saying that now people are going to be expecting him to really win and sweep the rest of the clay tournaments, seeing that he won Monte Carlo, especially considering that he hadn't won a match at this tournament in Monte Carlo before this year, and he went on to win the whole title. Like Carlos said, just hold your horses. I think it's going to be unrealistic to expect him to win the rest of the clay tournaments. I think he will lose not only one match, but maybe even 2 matches on clay for the rest of this year. Of course, Rafa Nadal was the undisputed king of clay for the past 20 years or so. Now, is Carlos this next generation's best clay player? First of all, nobody in the history of tennis will dominate the dirt like Rafa Nadal will. But I think that Carlos currently is the best clay court player that we have right now. Novak Djokovic, of course, is great on clay, but he's kind of in the twilight of his career. So I'm talking more about the next few 10 or so years who will be the best clay court player. Talking about Alcaraz, he's made the finals of his past 3 clay court tournaments: Roland Garros, the Olympics, and now Monte Carlo, and he won 2 of them. He also won Roland Garros last year, not playing his best tennis, especially in the semifinals or the finals, but he was still able to beat arguably the 2 of the best clay court players rivaling him right now, and Jannik Sinner and Alexander Zverev. Even though he has won Wimbledon back-to-back, clay could be his best surface. He's a 2-time champion in Barcelona and Madrid, and now he won Monte Carlo. All he needs now is Rome. I think with clay, Carlos has more confidence to be able to dig himself out of those holes whenever he's not playing as well. He's not as able to do that as much, I guess, on the hard courts, and I think he just has that confidence because he's grown up on on clay and playing on the dirt. Him winning Monte Carlo, not playing his best tennis, again, makes him even more dangerous. I think as far as the people who will be able to rival him consistently on the dirt for the next 10 or so years, first of all, I think Jannik Sinner will be a big threat for him, even though he hasn't had success in winning titles, big titles on the clay as of yet. He's still young himself, and he showed great promise in making the semifinals of Roland Garros, of course, narrowly losing to Alcaraz. Zverev, he's a great clay court player, but I don't know. He might have about 5 more good years left with him. I think looking at more younger players, Joao Fonseca, perhaps he could be a clay force and rivaling Carlos Alcaraz at the top level. Holger Rune is another one of the young guns. It's just a matter of him kind of locking in. We've been waiting on him to have that big edgy breakthrough, but it's been a long time coming for him. So maybe him, I don't know, but that's just a few of the players I think that maybe could tug on that next King of Clay crown with Carlos, but still I think in the next 10 years it'll still be Alcaraz being the best player on clay on this surface. Now, talking about Alcaraz and his next tournament, Barcelona, the draw will be low-key challenging for Alcaraz. He has Alex de Minaur in the quarterfinals potentially, who played so well at Monte Carlo. He was so close to reaching the finals and playing Alcaraz, but he lost to Musetti in the semifinals. We could see a rematch between him, Carlos, and Artur Fils in the semifinals. Stefano Tsitsipas is there in that section, though, and he loves playing here in Barcelona. Tsitsipas does, as he is a 4-time Barcelona Open finalist. However, the Greekman does have a poor 6-0 head-to-head record against Carlitos, and Steph would also have a pretty challenging second-round match against Sebastian Korda, who actually beat him in Miami. In the bottom half, there's Francis Tiafoe, Andrei Rublev, Holger Rune, and defending champion Casper Ruud as the other 4 seeds, and you also have Karen Khachanov and Alejandro Davidovich Falcona looming as some other unseeded players. The field here, again, is pretty tough in Spain. I'm not sure if Carlos can go another tournament with not playing his best tennis like he did in Monte Carlo. I'm kind of going to be betting against Carlos winning here in Barcelona. I can see maybe de Minaur taking him out in the quarterfinals. I don't know. And I guess if I have to pick a winner, I guess maybe I'd have Casper Ruud defending his title. Even though Ruud hasn't really had a strong season as of yet, he didn't perform all that well in Monte Carlo, losing to Popperin. I think he has a solid draw, and I think it'll all come together for him here. Moving on, in Stuttgart, there's another 500, this time for the women, and there's another solid field here as 6 of the top 10 players are in action. We don't have as many juicy early round matchups as we've been accustomed to for the Porsche Grand Prix, as a few top players did pull out, as Qinwen Zhang, she pulled out due to injury. Danielle Collins was supposed to play, she pulled out, and then Rybakina opted to not defend her title. Aryna Sabalenka and Coco Gauff, they would be projected to play in the semifinals. Aryna will open up against Anastasia Potapova, who beat Clara Towson in a tough 3-set match. I think Sabalenka will definitely enjoy that, as Towson would be the bigger threat for Biglenka, as Clara beat her in Dubai. Sabalenka could face Diana Schneider in the quarterfinals. Then looking down, all 5 German players in the field are sandwiched in between Coco Gauff and Jasmine Paolini, who are projected to play in the quarterfinals. And I think that Jasmine and Coco will play each other. None of these German players are that threatening, being totally honest. Maybe Laura Siegemund can cause some problems, but she's so up and down, so I don't even know. Gauff, she leads the head-to-head with Paolini 2-0, but she has not played the Italian since 2023, and of course Paolini has drastically elevated her level since then. I see it being a tight one, but I think I'll give the slight edge to Gauff. I think Coco will do better, having more time to prep for the clay, losing earlier in Miami, and I like what I've seen from her, the little bit I've seen from her in her practice session videos. Gauff hasn't performed her best in Stuttgart in the years prior. She's never made it to the semifinals, but I think that can all change here for sure. I do think that Sabalenka would eliminate her if they were to play in the semifinals. I was going to have Coco getting this one, but I still think it'll take Gauff a tournament or 2 before she gets back in the gear of beating those top players. But she could definitely do it. I wouldn't be surprised. Moving down, looking at the bottom half, 2-time champion Iga Swiatek is going to be looking to get right back on track and is seeking her first final since winning Roland Garros last year. She could open against Donna Vekic, who is a very good player, but Donna has never beaten Iga in 4 previous attempts. Iga should win that potential second round match, but in the quarterfinals, Swiatek could face her biggest foe, Jelena Ostapenko, and that's going to be her biggest threat this entire tournament, as Ostapenko leads her head-to-head 5-0. Although Jelena has only won 1 single match since she beat Iga in the Doha semifinal, so I wouldn't be surprised if Ostapenko lost before then. American Emma Navarro is Swiatek's projected quarterfinal opponent, and I think that they will meet. I don't see Yelena coming through to make the quarterfinals, but if she did, I think that she would be Iga for a sixth time. Up top, there's Jessica Pegula, who has been in fine form lately, making the Miami final and winning Charleston. I don't see her making another final, though, as she does not have the best track record playing indoors. Mira Andreeva is back in action herself, and she's going to be competing in Stuttgart for the first time herself. She'll open up against her older sister, Erica Andreeva, who won their first meeting back in Wuhan last year, very convincingly 6-3, 6-1. So I think that'd be a tricky one for the 17-year-old. Below them, there are two big hitting Russians, Ekaterina Alexandrova and Ludmila Samsonova. Those two will face off. There, I'd favor Ekaterina, who looked good in Charleston, where she made the semifinals. On paper, Iga really should make the finals, but I don't know. I'm just really not feeling that confident in her as I have been in prior tournaments. Even though this is her favorite surface, she has a lot of big hitters in her section that could all knock her out. And of course, too, her draw could open up in her favor. However, I think that I might have Alexandrova come through to make the final. In picking a winner, I'm going to play it safe and having the top seed Sabalenka come through. I don't think her draw is that easy, but I think despite the surface change, she'll maintain her high level that we saw from the Sunshine Double and finally get her keys to the Porsche. She has had success at this tournament being a 3-time runner-up, but I think with Iga not being as confident this year, I think this might be her best chance in driving off with that car. Going back to the men's, the field in Munich, the 500 there is a bit weaker compared to Barcelona, but it's still solid. Zverev, the top seed, could play Jakub Menzik in the quarterfinals, who plays his first event since winning Miami. The lefties, Ugo Humbert and Denis Shapovalov, could play in the quarterfinals. In the bottom half, there's Francisco Cerundolo, who opens against defending champion Jan-Lennart Struff. Felix Auger-Aliassime is seeded third here, and he'll play Mariano Navone, who is very good on the clay, so don't be surprised if Felix falls, y'all. Second seed, an American Ben Shelton, earned a very impressive 4-6, 7-6, 7-6 win over Bonagojo in the opening round, where he saved 3 match points, and he could play Yuri Lehechka in the quarterfinals. In France, there's the WTA 250 in Rouen. Sloane Stephens was the defending champion here, but she's out right now due to a foot injury, and with those points from last year coming off, Sloane is on the cusp of falling outside the top 300. It's just bad for Stephens overall, as she's also riding a 10-match losing streak, and really it just could be curtains for her. But focusing on the action this year, the top seeds that are still remaining in the draw include Elina Svitolina, Linda Noskova, Olga Dodilovic, and Alicia Parks. We also have one of my biggest supporters, Maria Sakkari, in this draw, and this would be a good opportunity for Sakkari to win back-to-back matches for the first time since the Olympics. And our newest tennis phenom, Alexandra Eala, is back competing for the first time since her top Miami Open loss to Jessica Pegula. The 19-year-old is the top seed at this week's Oeiras Ladies Open in Portugal. This is a WTA 125 tournament, which is the equivalent to an ATP Challenger. It's one ring below a WTA 250, which is considered the lowest level WTA main tour level tier, and above that is the WTA 500, which is like a Stuttgart. Then there's the WTA 1000, which is like a Miami or Madrid, and then the slams being like the top of the top. Eala, she led her Dutch opponent, Anouk Kovermans, 6-3, 2-4 before the rains came and postponed play for the day. I'm surprised Alex didn't play in Rouen, but she did mention the difficulties she faced in obtaining visas to different countries. According to tennis.com, Eala and other citizens of the Philippines are afforded visa-free or visa-on-arrival travel to only 65 countries and territories. Even though she's currently based in Mallorca, the home of the Rafa Nadal Academy, the 19-year-old needs a visa in advance of traveling to various tournaments, including the 4 majors. While on the topic of international travel, I want to end by highlighting the results from the BJK Cup qualifiers. Team USA is a part of the 8 teams who will compete in September's finals held in Shenzhen, China. The Stars and Stripes defeated both Denmark and Slovakia to win Group C. This is an impressive effort because Team USA won this group with their 14th and 16th highest ranked singles players, Bernarda Pera and Haley Baptiste. And this was a great effort from both women, particularly Baptiste, as she was very impressive. I was very impressed by Haley and her form this week, and I think that this is going to be a great omen to come, and she's going to be having big results later on this season. Joining the US and Shenzhen will be Italy, the defending champions, as well as China, the host nation. Japan won Group A, where they edged out Canada, but shout out to 19-year-old Victoria Mboko, who won her first few Billie Jean King Cup singles matches. You also have Spain, Kazakhstan, led by Elena Rybakina, plus Ukraine and Great Britain. That is all I have for this video. Let me know your thoughts on Carlos Alcaraz winning Monte Carlo, and do you think that he will be the best clay court player for the next 10 years or so? Also, give your thoughts on who will take the title in Stuttgart and the other tournaments going on this week. Again, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you're notified whenever I post more content. Thank you all so much for watching and for your support, and I'll see you all next time here on Christian's Court.